the University of Technology. I'm just here to speak briefly to you about my experience as students who was part of the FJP program last year. And just before I get into that, I'd just like to say to you guys, you are very lucky because you're going to come here three times this year. We only got to come here twice, and we did not get to cover Fest because like there were logistical problems. We only came the day after Fest had ended, and we were like here during the World Cup period. So you guys are very lucky. I'm very much into arts, so it was really unfortunate for me not to get that type of an opportunity. So you guys are really lucky in terms of that. We also didn't come for autumn school. Yeah, but just in terms of my experience, when we came here, it was during Highway Africa, and there was another conference running in conjunction with that called the World Journalism Congress. And so what happened at Highway Africa, it was just like a great networking opportunity for us as young people, as young FJP students, to be able to interact with people that were in industry, but also to interact with people that were academics around the journalism fraternity. You had people from all over the world delivering various talks about what's happening in journalism education, about how journalists are working all around the world, but also speaking about new mediums and new sort of facilities that are emerging within the journalism field. For example, you had talks about mobile journalism, as I think you guys sort of had something about that in your autumn school. That also stems from some of the talks that came last year. So what we did during our FJP year was that we actually like went out to, there were events that we had to go out to meet people, to make contacts, and to sort of get a good starting base that when you go into industry, because most of us were second year last year, and most of us are doing internship this year. And fortunately, like most of the people that were in my year now have internships with people that they met at the Highway Africa conference. For example, myself, I met a guy from the BBC, and I spoke to him and I said, hey, I'd like to come through next year and do some work for you. And eventually when I called this year, I said, hey, I'm still interested in working for you, would you be interested? They offered me a job, but subsequently I had to turn it down because I had gotten a better offer from another person that I met at Highway Africa, a guy called Mthembu, who runs the Media24 cadet school. But it's all about building relationships, and it's all about being honest. Like, and if another person, it would have been just easy to say, okay, because I've gotten this better opportunity, I'm just going to go silent and not tell him. I told the guy, and as a result, he said, okay, it's fine, I understand, it's a better opportunity for you to go to Media24, but he still asked me that to come and cover this. And that's why I'm actually covering the National Arts Festival for the BBC. Going to be producing like a couple of podcasts for them and some content for their website and a magazine called Focus Africa. So one of the important things also that's really going to come out of this for you guys is I would really, really advise you to pay specific attention to the writing workshops, because the value that they add to what you write and what you bring out is beyond anything that you can get in your schools. In our year, we had a guy called Sim. Unfortunately, he's not here. A very, very talented man, a very, very talented writer. But also what I would really encourage you guys to do is to build a network amongst yourselves, because it's very important. Like if you live, who lives in Joburg here? People from Joburg. If you live in Joburg and there's a story that you want to do about a person in Durban, it's much easier to get a person who is in Durban to actually do an interview for you. Like I remember there was a girl from Pretoria in our year, Jenny. She actually called me earlier this year about this guy from the Bulls who was allegedly killing people and massacring them. She called me because she wanted to do an article on that for the Star. She called me and asked me to like sort of go out on the story for her and get her some information, do some interviews about around that story. And so when I gave her, I did that for her and I sent it through. She actually got a front page lead as a result of the information that I had added to her story. So it's very important to build a network amongst yourselves, because it's not just about like meeting other people, it's also about meeting each other and knowing what other people within your group can do and what value they can add to you as a person. Another person, Mina, she's from here in Rhodes. She was really like big on business journalism. I was like, I have never even thought of business journalism as a field within journalism. And subsequently, I'm finding myself writing more about business and focusing more on economic journalism as a result of that. So it's very important for you as people to sort of share those kind of ideas, share those kind of experiences, and not only look to people that are coming in from outside to sort of teach you, or to look to people that are out in the field. Also look amongst yourself to see what you can do. Okay, what's the next thing I want to speak about? Okay, what I'm doing now, I am currently interning at Media24, but here I'm in my capacity as a BBC journalist. And I'm also working on my first documentary. It's called The Uprising. It's not about politics. I'm not big into politics. It's about like the emergence of the alternative art scene in Durban. So that's what I'm currently working on right now. And yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Yeah, sorry. You said something about business writing, like business journalism. Like, can you just explain like what do you experience and how is that field of journalism in terms of business writing?
Politics where it's like raw and hard, but business journalism, it's sort of, you have to rely very much on the subtext of what is happening. For example, I was doing the story on the tax industry in Durban, of formalizing the tax industry in Durban, if that is like a viable thing. So as the story was, the tax industry is going formal. They're going to be registering the employees. They're going to be formalizing the industry. But also, as a business journalist, what you have to do is sort of look into the subtext of that. What does that mean for people that are working in the industry? What does that mean for the transport industry? What do stakeholders in that industry have to say? What ramifications does that have for taxi wars in Durban and places like that? So business journalism, what I would say is, it's just about looking into the subtext of economic decisions. What kind of impact does it have for the masses? But also, what kind of impact does it have for the bottom line of the people that are in those various businesses? One of the things that I noticed about business journalism in South Africa is that it tends to be too academic. It's not accessible to the masses. So what you have to do as a person, as a business journalist, is sort of break it down so that a person picking up the newspaper in the streets can be like, okay, I understand this. This is quite simple. So I personally did not do economics or accounting in high school. I was lucky that I had a very flexible school. I did science and I did a little bit of arts. And so it was very challenging for me heading into the field of business journalism. And fortunately, I was mentored by a guy called David Whiteman. He was a former editor of the Mercury. And what he told me about business journalism is that it's not just about the figures, but like I said, it's about the ramifications of things. So I will not lie to you, it is very difficult to start out as a business journalist without some sort of economic knowledge. It's very important for you to know things. It's very important for you to know legislations, things like that. Do your research, and that's one of the things that I cannot emphasize enough. Do your research. There is nothing more embarrassing than a person saying, I'm going to a conference and they don't even know what it's about. They don't even know who's going to be there. They don't even know what's on the table for discussion. So do your research as much as possible. Gain as much knowledge as possible before you go out and do a story, especially in the world of business journalism, because it's very, very technical.